No, but we've been talking a lot. We talked to our political correspondent, Lisa Fitzgerald, who gave, I've like to say, the first proper, clear explanation of what actually happened. I think a lot of people go, oh, Celtic scenes at the House of Commons, this, that. And actually, what actually happened? Well, most people are not sitting glued to Parliament TV watching it and knowing the niceties of the order paper.
I was last night. It was better than Netflix.
I had to go to a very worthwhile school event because you still have to do that as a parent. What can I say? Got back in and went, what's happened? Right. Yeah. So we know what's happened. And if you just go back and watch the first hour, you can find it on catch up or something about what actually happened. But we've got a situation where we've got very angry SNP, very angry Tories. We've got a sort of, I suppose, sort of like hanging their heads a little bit. Don't look at us at Labour Party. Labour leadership, Sir Keir Starmer or else, being accused of putting pressure on Sir Lindsay Hoyle, the Commons Speaker, to use their motion, which basically scuppered the opposition day motion of the SNP. That's all parliamentary niceties, which frankly most people don't care about. No one in the Middle East gives two hoots what happens in our Parliament on that respect. And I'm sorry, Parliament being in chaos, sorry, that's democracy, get over it. It's the reasons why Sir Lindsay Hoyle decided to break with precedent that concern me. Was he basically threatened by Labour leadership? Did the Labour leadership say, we're going to basically vote you out as Speaker when we get into power? We're going to challenge you in your seat where he stands as an independent. Did they also say, and again, this is just as bad, our MPs fear for their lives, we could have a load of rebellions and that could be bad for Labour leadership, but also a load of MPs are worried if they don't rebel, they will face threat to their lives from people who say they're pro-Palestinian but actually are just anti-democracy and Islamist extremists. If we are allowing a baying mob to decide what happens in our Parliament, that is something we should be worried about, isn't it? We
should be extremely worried about it. The sectarianism that's coming into our politics. But stripping the subject away, and I agree with you, it's irrelevant. The UK Parliament's view on what's happening in Gaza is not going to affect what's going on in Gaza.
It's not the government's view.
But it was the SNP's choice of the subject. And unfortunately, what Lindsay Hoyle did was he stopped the SNP getting a proper debate on that. If Labour disagreed with what the SNP were saying, they could have voted with the government.
But if the SNP had wanted to really sort of bring people together, some of the language they used, the slaughter of people, of Palestinians and things like that, they were using deliberately provocative language.
Exactly, deliberately provocative language.
There is no one who comes out of this with any glory.
There isn't, but the custodian of the process, and the big issue here is the process went wrong. And Sir Lindsay Hoyle said he wanted to do it because he wanted to get a debate out there so that it
would protect MPs,
everyone had the chance to vote. Well, in the reality, virtually no one has had a chance to vote, and it's probably increased the threats that there are against MPs and increased the instability that's around the place. And Sir Lindsay Hoyle is Speaker of the House of Commons. He is the custodian of process and procedure.
And process and procedure is what makes democracy work.
Correct.
Do you think he'll survive? 57 MPs have signed an early day motion saying they have no confidence in the Speaker. It's a tiny fraction of the 650. It's largely angry backbench Tories and the SNP MPs. Do you think he'll have to go? Because you do have to command the confidence of the entire House.
Yeah, he has to respect the of the entire House. I think underlying all of this, people do respect him. He's an honourable.
He's an honourable, very nice man,
and an honourable Speaker. And he's messed up this time. But I think the issue here is, was he influenced by the Labour Party? Because they are the ones who are not getting the headlines, trouncing Starmer's position and saying that the Labour Party is falling apart. If he was influenced by the Labour Party, then his position is untenable.
But also if he was, then that was inappropriate influence from the Labour leadership.
Correct.
So someone has to go from there. Well, I want to hear from you after those chaotic scenes we saw over the Gaza ceasefire motions in Parliament last night. Calls for the Commons Speaker to resign, as we just discussed, and violent threats from Islamist radicals against MPs. MPs were genuinely fearing leaving the House of Commons last night. I want to know, what does this say about the state of our democracy? You can give us a call on 0344 499 1000, text on 87222, or get in touch on X at TalkTV. Calls are charged at the national rate. Text costs £1, standard network rate message. Judging by messages coming in so far, you are not happy about what has been going on. A little bit earlier, I said told you basically what I thought was going on. And I think the big issue is that we are not taking the threat of Islamist extremism seriously, whether it's Batley Grammar School, whether it's MPs standing down because of threats to their homes and their families, whether it's MPs being murdered like Sir David Amess or being stabbed like Stephen Timms, and the awful terror attacks we've seen over the years. Why is everyone trying to sweep this under the carpet and pretend this isn't an issue? And, oh, let's talk about the far right over there. The far right is also an issue, but nothing on the same scale. You know how we tackled the far right? We brought them into the open. We had the BNP leader, Nick Griffin, on Question Time. He was tackled, he was exposed, he was nothing. The threat in this country is from the far left and it's from Islamist extremism, and we need to tackle that.